I think there's a moment in this fight where Bivol breaks Beterbiev's heart a little bit.
Beterbiev could see it and was loading up and bullying him around the ring. I personally thought the fight was a farce.
I was all in on the change. I was all in on the excitement of it. And now I think the Warriors mentality of Martin Bakole should be rewarded. We want that attitude in this game. That's what we want. We don't want people to go, for all intents and purposes, Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, whoever the promoter is, to then say, do you remember what happened to Martin Bakole? His career went backwards 2 years. We don't want that for you.
I couldn't make head nor tail of what the judging scoring was because it was wrong. I think that Turkey Alashek has done more for boxing in the last 2 years than everyone else put together. Callum Smith is a class operator, but the better operator in that fight by a mile with respect to Josh, who I really like, was Callum Smith.
Let's do it. Let's do Callum Smith, David Benavidez.
So where's this leave yard then?
Buatsi.
Listen, where's he from Doncaster, isn't he? He didn't get nice house up there.
Get two. The problem is with Shakur Stevenson, he's looking at the end of the Floyd Mayweather.
Rather than the beginning.
The Money Mayweather, right?
Yeah.
And he skipped straight to Money Mayweather without giving us Pretty Boy Floyd.
Welcome to episode 109 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver. Joining us today is the brilliant Adam Catterall to talk about a fantastic evening in Riyadh.
Indeed.
I mean, Spence, the fight card was the best of its kind, wasn't it?
Yeah, it delivered. You know, they were talking about it being the best fight card of all time, and you look at it, the way they opened the show with the light heavyweights, Buatsi, Callum Smith, and the way they closed the show with Beterbiev and Bivol, you just look at that and just go, wow, it was insane. And what we had in the middle, it was also the big fight week drama that we had out there as well, Simon, the twists and the turns and fighters coming out, which we're going to talk to later in the show, fighters being pulled out and other fighters
Was there a lot of energy around the event in Riyadh? Was there a lot of background noise, you know?
It started slowly, as expected, because it's always that way before people are sort of really coming in. We got there early. We was there on Sunday night, Monday morning. And by the time we hit midweek, by the time we got to Wednesday, open workouts, etc., there was a real buzz about the place because people knew what they were in for. People knew what they were getting, and you know, like I say, with the certain fighters coming out and people being put in, and some of the fights looking even more exciting than the originals. It was brilliant, mate.
Best ever, Bill? Ad?
Of my lifetime, mate.
Yeah.
Without any shadow of a doubt. I think, do you know something? I'm fortunate to cover a lot of fights, both across boxing and the world of MMA. And last week felt like the first time that boxing actually emulated a UFC fight week. And what I mean by that is the UFC specialises in selling those holy cow moments, to be polite, right? Boxing and its fight weeks can be quite mundane, they're quite run-of-the-mill, they don't really capture the imagination of the fight fan that sat at home, they only really engage with it, maybe get to Friday and Saturday. Last week, because of the bill, because of the narratives that were in each individual fight, because of the twists and the turns, you couldn't take your eyes off it. It was absolutely fantastic from start to finish, and hopefully this is now a sign of things to come.
Well, let's start with the main event. Let's start with the Beterbiev versus Bivol fight. Where did you guys have it in your scorecards?
So I had Beterbiev winning by a round.
Did you?
Yeah, I did, yeah. It was one of those fights that you...
What?
Yeah, I had him winning by a round, yeah. I'm going to explain myself.
Go on, then.
Give me a moment. So we're getting hammered on the things now anyway. It was one of those fights that a lot of those rounds were subjective scoring, what you went for, what you liked, because it was the aggression of Beterbiev, which the style that I sort of like, or did you appreciate the sweet science of boxing purist in Dimitri Bivol? But what Bivol done in this fight that he didn't do in the last fight, and what he told me when I interviewed him on the Monday was, he said, I recognise I've got to reinvent myself. He said, I recognise that, you know, I've had to go soul searching. I've had to remould myself, reinvent myself, and it's made me a stronger fighter. I'm going to mix fire with fire. I did, like, he went in the first fight saying that he went in there with that mindset, he's a monster, he's got this punch power. But when I was in there, I recognised that actually it weren't as bad as what I thought. And I think he took confidence from that, and he went there and he done what he said he was going to do. He met fire with fire, Simon, and adjusted things. It was one of them fights that really could have gone either way. He could have even drawn it off.
It was a better fight than the first fight.
Yeah.
But let's get past the preposterous notion that Spencer's advancing that Beterbiev won that fight.
I think you've been done by optics there.
No.
Just let me explain.
Oh, by the way, here, let me explain this then. The AI, the fourth judge, had Beterbiev winning 116-112.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it did.
It didn't. It had it 115, 113 in Beterbiev.
No. Yeah,
in Bivol's favour.
I don't think he did. Not the one that we did. You sure?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I think you've been done by optics, right? And the reason why I say this
go
is
on.
because 11 of the 12 rounds, Beterbiev outthrows Bivol.
Yeah.
He's not outlanding him, though.
No,
Bivol's performance was truly sensational. The way that he was catching on the arms, catching on the gloves, the way that he was laterally moving out the way and then firing. He was at the start and end of every single exchange for large percentages in the middle of that fight. I thought he was beautiful.
But it was, I mean, what I looked at was the first few rounds. Beterbiev started faster. By the way, AI scored it 4 rounds to Bivol.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
I thought it was the other way.
So I looked at the fight.
I apologise for that.
The fight started very differently this time round, with Beterbiev coming out quicker. There was a period of time, I think, between rounds 3 and 6, where Beterbiev looked like he was going to roll through Bivol. And then Bivol just changed gears and went through the gears, went up a level. And it was like when Beterbiev fought Yard was in the fight until Beterbiev went up a level and he couldn't go with him.
Yeah.
Bivol went up a level.
Yeah, he did.
And he almost made it look like Beterbiev, applying all the pressure, couldn't cope with that level.
I think you've nailed it. It reminded me.
What was your scorecard, by the way?
115 on the night, if you remember.
Yeah.
I scored it 114 apiece.
Oh, you had a draw?
Because I was with Barry McGuigan yelling in my ear. I've gone back and rewatched it and I've got it 115, 113.
What about you?
115, 113.
What, for Bivol as well?
Bivol, yeah. So it reminds me very much of the first Fury-Usyk fight. If you remember that, there was chops and turns in the first exchanges. I personally think Bivol comes out and takes the first couple, maybe 3. Beterbiev flips it.
Yeah,
3.
absolutely.
4, 5, 6. He's absolutely fantastic.
And he looked like he was going to walk through him.
Absolutely fantastic. But there's a minute, so 40 seconds to a minute of the 6th round, right at the end of it. And Bivol just changes the pace on him a touch. The start of the 7th is a completely different story.
Correct.
And if you remember the Fury-Usyk fight, Fury got into the rhythm of the fight and started to take it away from Usyk, whereas then Usyk, he broke his nose at the end of the 8th. 9th, he has him rocking and rolling. OK, we don't have the visual in this particular fight of a knockdown, but Bivol from 7 onwards was absolutely fantastic.
And I think that's what makes, when you get fights of this magnitude, when you're talking about these elite fighters and we're getting to the, the light heavyweight division and where these two stand and who's there to challenge them. But you look at these two and they have that ability to turn things around when things are not going against them. So one guy adjusts, he nicks a couple of rounds, then the other guy adjusts again. It's like their boxing IQ is off the scale.
But there was a real marked difference there, wasn't there, in the 2 stages of the fight? If you look at, like Adam says, the first 6 rounds, I would suggest that Bivol had the edge in the first 3 rounds, and then it looked like an absolute polar shift.
Landslide.
Beterbiev looked like he was just whacking him around the ring and loading up, and it looked like Bivol was in deep distress. And then all of a sudden, Bivol goes through the gears, and it looks like Beterbiev doesn't really know how to contend with it. Well, he's still applying pressure. He's still trying to put the big shots in. But Bivol just looked like a completely different animal on a different level to Beterbiev.
I think it surprised Beterbiev because, as you say, when he sort of turned the screw and turned things around, and there was a moment there where you're looking at Bivol going, he's showing a lot of character here. Like, can he pull himself through this? And he showed the mark of a great fighter, a great champion, because he turned it around, and it was so impressive the way that he did, because he then got into Beterbiev's head, and Beterbiev now is going, I'm in a position where I've not been before, or I have to do. There was brilliance from both sides. It was one of those fights for me that I'd like to say on the night, I think I had it 115, 114 Beterbiev, you had it draw, whatever else. It was one of them fights that could have gone either way. I'm not taking away from Bivol and winning that contest because I've got no arguments for that.
But both fighters were better in this fight, I felt, but Bivol was markedly better.
Agree.
And when Bivol put the pedal to the metal, for want of a better expression, it was almost like Beterbiev couldn't go with him.
Yeah.
He was still operating at a very high level, and a high level which would probably diminish most other fighters in that weight class. But it's like there was all of a sudden there was clear daylight between what Bivol was capable of executing and what Beterbiev was.
You might be able to shed a bit more light on what I'm about to say now. I think there's a moment in this fight where Bivol breaks Beterbiev's heart a little bit because of how good he was in those sections. He's whacking away, he's giving it him, and he's thinking, this kid's not going anywhere. Then he stands and trades with him. Then he's out the back door again. He's thinking to himself, I didn't plan for this.
1,000,000%, Adam. What you just said there is exactly what it was. And I think we were talking about it on the night as well. You go, like, when you're looking at this fight, and both guys showed marks of being a great champion because they weren't showing when they were hurt. And when they wasn't hurt, there's, that poker face that they both had. I go, there's 4 or 5 times each when they're both, like, sort of, like, really digging deep. Right, but that whole point, what you're saying there, when you go, like, he sort of, like, stole Beterbiev's heart a little bit because he broke him at what he's good at doing. And that was the...
Did you think? I mean, I thought Bivol looked hurt though between 4 and 6.
He was
getting battered around the ring.
Desperately hurt.
Yeah, and Beterbiev could see it and was loading up and bullying him around the ring and literally punching him around the ring.
And you're thinking the stoppage may come out of somewhere. Yeah. He switched it around, flipped it as quick as that. Where you go now, Beterbiev's the guy that's going. Hold a minute, like he started questioning himself.
Yeah.
It was like it had everything for me.
Do we see I mean, I was talking to Duke McKenzie on a different show about Beterbiev and the level that he's at and where he's going. And Duke was saying, well, you know, Father Time and the fights he's been. I said, well, with due respect, he's blasted everybody else. So he hasn't been in massive fights besides the fight with Bivol that have been challenging for him because he's knocked everybody else out.
He had a challenging one with Gvodik, didn't he, at one point?
But it's not a litany of them, is there?
No, I know what you're saying.
So he hasn't got huge mileage on the clock. The only thing he's got on the clock is an age that normally deters. Did we see any elements of Father Time in this fight?
No, I just think what Spencer was alluding to there, you're just seeing a guy. I actually thought the game plan that Bivol implemented down the back end of that fight might be his undoing in it because he would present more opportunities for Beterbiev to take advantage of, which he couldn't do it ultimately, and Bivol comes through. For me, these two are light years ahead of any other light heavyweight that are on this planet.
We're now looking at a situation where, and I think it's fair to say this, that Bivol has taken Beterbiev's best shots.
Yeah.
Right? And has gone up a level. Arguments would rage that Bivol won the first fight. I don't think he did. I think Beterbiev won the first fight.
Yeah.
In this fight, I don't think, despite your observations, I don't think there's any debate that Bivol won this particular fight. So what is Beterbiev going to do? Because everybody felt, I think me and you included, that this Beterbiev version, given the fact he hadn't had knee surgery, he was coming in fitter, was going to be able to be even better than the first fight and would get to Bivol. What is he going to have to do if they do get the third fight, which I think they will because it's 1-1, and Beterbiev walking out of the ring the way he did? I don't think there was ill will there. I think he was having a little bit of a joke with Bivol because people would...
It's his moment.
People in the media were saying he refused to shake hands. I think there was a little bit of banter going on there.
Yeah.
I think it's 1-1. Yeah. But to go to the question, we've seen what Bivol can do to raise his game. We've seen that Beterbiev couldn't go with him. We've made the argument that Beterbiev's power is the determining factor, is the equaliser in the conversation in terms of Bivol's skill. We've now seen that negated. How does Beterbiev go into the third fight and actually win it then?
Well, that's the great thing, that we knew that Bivol had that adaptability because he's the boxing purist, and you go, could he implement the moves, which he done on Saturday night, to get the victory, and he proved that he could do that. Beterbiev is that guy, that is that monster that pushes forward and does whatever, so you go, it's going to be much harder for him to adapt because that's his style. The only way that he can win this third match, the rubber match, is by applying more pressure. But can you apply more pressure than what he'd already done?
I can't see a version of Beterbiev now that beats Bivol. I've gone 360 degrees.
I'm with you.
Or 180.
I'm with you.
But that's the beauty of these two guys, because over 24 rounds they've been so well matched. I agree with what Simon's just said there. I think over 24 rounds, Bivol's got the edge right now. But let's do another 12 and let's find out if he can.
Fascinating. Look forward to it. Right, let's talk about the heavyweights. You were on the ground, Spence. You were watching the events unfold. What was the landscape like when you were seeing all this noise about Daniel disappearing into the ether, Martin Bakole being parachuted in?
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. It was one of those situations where I'd arranged an interview on talkSPORT, actually coming on your show, wasn't he, Don Charles? We'd arranged that at the Mike Tyson Boxing Club. Everything was brilliant. That was meant to be on the Thursday of the press conference. Spoke to Don. He rang me on the Wednesday, said, look, Thursday, it's on. We're on, doing things. Daniel had done the open workout on the Wednesday night. He looked phenomenal. I'm just looking at him going, wow, this guy's going to be tough to beat. Usyk-Dubois equally looked brilliant, and he was mentally in a really good place as well. So you thought, we're in for a real fight here. And then we travelled to the press conference on the Thursday. Rumour breaks around 9:00 p.m. on the Thursday. Daniel's fallen ill. I was like, wow, I didn't expect that because Don didn't turn up at the Mike Tyson gym. I just thought, look, don't want to hassle him because they, might be training or doing something. Left it there. Then Daniel had fallen ill. Then by the time the press conference was finished at 11 p.m. Saudi time, they're like, Martin Bakole's in, he's going on a plane. You just didn't see it all coming. And it was like, what's happened? So Daniel had apparently got a virus, wasn't deemed fit to fight, and he didn't want to put his IBF title at risk for that. And you understand it with, like, Usyk-Dubois, serious challenger. So he's been pulled out of the fight. Credits Turkey Al-Sheikh. Was
there any consideration, Spence, that just drop it from the card, move on?
No, I think
they had to find a replacement that was credible.
I think that they wanted a replacement that was credible, Simon, because this was billed as the best fight card ever. And you're looking at this fight, and it was because of the Floyd Schofield thing that happened with Shakur Stevenson.
A double whammy.
Like you go, and we got this new opponent in Josh Padley, who we can talk about as well. Incredible performance from him. But you go, we can't have this big heavyweight title fight.
What did you think, Ed? I mean, I personally thought the fight was a farce. I understand why it had to be made. I understand why people took it, and we'll explore that in a second. But the fight in and of itself, in terms of what we saw manifesting itself, and we saw Martin Bakole, and we saw towels being thrown in at certain times. What did you make of that?
Yeah, listen, after the fact, it's a lot easier, obviously, to judge what we saw, isn't it? And I'm not going to go back on what I originally thought when everything was being made from Thursday into Friday. There was an awful lot of excitement around it. This is what we want, don't we? We want to be excited about the sport. I think the Warriors mentality of a man flying in from the Congo, taking a ridiculous amount of planes. Yeah. Don't know why they didn't send him a private jet, but that being said, he comes in out of shape, granted. But that created an incredible amount of excitement.
And intrigue, yeah.
We got kind of what the majority of people in boxing kind of expected, an in-shape Dubois-Parker, taking it very, very seriously, doing the business and getting the guy out of there in 2 rounds. Fine, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm not going to go now and say, oh, he should never have taken it, this should never have happened, this is ridiculous. No, not at all. I was all in on the change, I was all in on the excitement of it, and now I think the Warriors mentality of Martin Bakole should be rewarded.
But when you pare it back, I mean, I understand all that, and I agree with it, because ultimately, if the decision has been made that you've got to keep a fight on the card, and you're looking around to who that's likely to be, and Bakole puts his name and hat in the ring. Yeah. But the fight in of itself was a bit of a farce, wasn't it? In terms of the fact he comes in at 308 pounds, he's got Daniel Dubois' gloves on. He looks like he's cut his pajamas down to get into them, right? And we're looking at a fight that goes nowhere and gets stopped in 4.5 minutes.
Okay.
And I don't think.
What's the alternative?
Well, I'm not saying there was an alternative, but what I am saying is that if we're going to be honest about it, pare back all the about the intrigue side of things and the excitement. Yeah. The reality of it is we got what we should have got, which is Joseph Parker, who's been training for arguably the best heavyweight in the world, or the most dangerous one, Daniel Dubois. Yes. Going against a guy that hasn't had a glove in his face since, or hasn't been hit in with real meaning since August of last year. That's probably 20, 30 pounds over his fighting weight, or certainly 20. That's not conditioned. That's got off a plane at 3 o'clock in the morning doing media commitments, goes into a ring and gets knocked out. So the fight in of itself was a bit of a farce for me. The reason why I took it, because there's been criticism flying around. Eddie Hearn has got involved in the conversation for reasons best known to himself, suggesting that that they shouldn't have been in the ring. And the argument rages about that. And the argument rages about whether Billy Nelson should have put him in there, whether Martin Bakole should have been in there, in terms of the motivations of the promoter. And I think that given the circumstances, if the fighter's being offered a lot of money, and he's being protected against downsides of being in that fight, most of them would have taken it.
100%. Listen, I think we're in a really interesting place now with that particular fight and how we react to it, not only as fans, but also as promoters and people connected to making the top stuff, right? We want fighters to take risks. For the last God knows how many years, how many times have we all sat in a room together and gone, this guy's talking the talk, but he's not walking the walk. We're not getting the fights that we want to fight. And it's mainly because promoters are protecting their assets. We're going to navigate it this way. We're going to navigate it that way. We'll get there when we're ready. We're building careers. We're losing attention spans of fight fans. We need to be mindful of that and cater for what the fan wants. The fan wants that excitement. When Thursday hit, Dubois out, everybody's gutted. Goalie's on a plane. What? Everybody's all in on that story. Yes, the fight's crap. I'm not going to make any bones about that. The fight is crap. But now what happens next for Bakole is really, really important. We need to put him back in a proper fight. Well, to show the fighters that if you take a risk, you're going to get rewarded. We want that attitude in this game. That's what we want. We don't want people to go, for all intents and purposes, Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, whoever the promoter is, to then say, do you remember what happened to Martin Bakole? His career went backwards 2 years. We don't want that for you. We're not going to do that. We're going to wrap you in cotton wool here and we're going to go in this direction. No, take the risk. Do a Josh Padley. Get on the plane and let's rock and roll, man, and roll the dice.
Listen, I was with Billy Nelson at the airport because I wanted to ask him, the reasons behind taking this risk. You're IBF #1 mandatory. You've got this fight with a Jagba coming up out in May, out there for the final eliminator. Why would you take this? From the business side of things, he said, look, Spence, we went in there. We knew Martin was not in 100% condition. He'd been ticking over. We'd gone home to Congo. This was presented to us. And we had that fight presented to us with not just the money that we would have been getting for the Jagba fight, but money for a fight after. Life-changing money. This is like, he looks at it, he goes, we're going in there with confidence that we can win the fight on Martin's ability, even if he's not 100% fit. We've got that. And this is the most important thing from the business side of things, and you'd understand this, Simon. They had the security that this fight's still going to go ahead in May, and if Martin loses, the IBF final eliminator off the line, but he's getting the opportunity. We must remember, guys, Martin is the most avoided heavyweight out there, and me and Simon have been championing him on this show to get these opportunities.
Yeah.
Martin's got to take them when he comes.
I agree.
And you understand that, and he went in there with confidence. Yes, he wasn't in shape. He got caught on top of the head. Heavyweight boxing, got knocked out, but he's got the chance to come back, and I think that by doing that, Turkey's respected, you've saved this show because you're right, it kept that entertainment value where people were going, well, Bakole, doesn't matter what shape he's in, this guy is dangerous. And that is the reality.
The only thing I would say...
Send him a private jet, is what we should say.
True. The only thing I would say is that we have, in recent weeks, seen tragedies in boxing.
Yes.
And when you send a man into a heavyweight fight that's got off a plane at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's jet lagged, into a fight like this, you put yourself in the way of a debate that could unfold on the boxing world that you don't particularly want. And that would be my only backstory. The idea that you've advanced, I think is absolutely right, because what was being mooted, it was irresponsible promoter and trainer to put this guy in the ring. The financial side of things, prize fighting, is always a consideration. The backstop was, does he keep his position and does he still have the assurances? And I think the answer to those things is yes. So with that in mind, they made a commercial decision that was based upon an opportunity to get very well paid and also to protect their position and go forward on the back of that. And I think it probably makes sense, albeit against the element of safety. Listen, Alexander Usyk was ringside talking to talkSPORT. This is what he said about the Parker-Bakole fight.
Who are you going to fight next?
Mine?
You.
I think it's Dubois.
And it will be May?
I don't know. It's ideal for Agis, His Excellency, how the time, I don't know. I'm ready.
Are you ready to go back into camp again, yeah?
Yes, of course. I'm back Kiev. 2-3 weeks I was in Kiev. Then I go to my camp.
Well, he wasn't speaking about the Parker-Bakole fight. He was talking before the Parker-Bakole fight and talking about what he was going to do more logically. He talks about the Dubois fight. Should he be going in next against Dubois, or should we be seeing a different outcome given that the Dubois-Parker fight was put to the side because of the circumstances?
For me, we should be seeing a different outcome. Listen, who am I to argue with Alexander Usyk? He is the main man, and therefore he's kind of the kingmaker. And if he wants to do something, I fully understand why he wants to do that. But even though he is the main man, I think that we are now living in a time, and I keep banging this word out, meritocracy. People have earned opportunities, and they should be getting those opportunities. I think we're in a fortunate position. We all know that Alexander Usyk's the main guy. Daniel Dubois holds a belt as well as a championship belt in this heavyweight division. I think we've got two really good contenders that have earned their opportunity. Joseph Parker being one. Personally, I think you remake Joseph Parker, Daniel Dubois. That's what we're going to do. The other contender, we saw him on Saturday night, Agit Kabayel.
Absolutely.
The guy's whacked out Makhmudov, Sanchez, and now Zhang. And you're telling me that he's not worthy of a world title? Listen, give him the Usyk fight. Let's see what's cracked with that.
I totally understand that, but I think the undisputed is going to trump all of that again with what happened.
We've done that. We've done that dance. We've done that dance.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is what happened with Daniel. Alexander's saying, I'm looking for a dance partner.
But what about Joseph Parker?
But Joseph Parker will be in a massive fight. And
Turkey Al-Sheikh
and Kabayel is the fight that they will make next. And for the winner to fight the winner.
Joseph Parker was on the verge of fighting for the world title against Daniel Dubois.
He should have got
not
the
his
world title shot.
He was ready to go.
It's the business of the sport, but I work
But that's where we need to change. Let's get back to the meritocracy.
Absolutely right.
Again.
I mean, the meritocracy argument is that Joseph Parker, there was enough merit in the fight between Parker and Dubois in the first place. Right? So the merit was already there. It was well established. So the bottom line is that Parker's reward for being fit to fight and being prepared to fight a stand-in on the evening cannot be that he gets put into the long grass waiting for another opportunity.
Go and have another eliminator again.
Go and have another eliminator. And, you know, I look at it, and this probably can't work. I don't know why they can't rejig April 26th and stick Parker in against Dubois on April 26th. It's a Riyadh card. And put him as the headline act, and Conor Ben and Christian Bank can fight underneath that.
Good shout.
Do you know, the conversation was when Daniel...
If they could turn that round, that would be absolutely fantastic.
Listen, the conversation was when Daniel had fallen ill, that the fight was going to happen, and he had 90 days to defend against Joseph Parker, and they were looking for a place to put it on. This has only arose, like this conversation about the undisputed has come up since Alexander's come over there saying...
But Turkey Al-Sheikh can decide what the outcome's going to be if he wants to. And he strikes me that he wants to create the best environment for meritocracy and reward those that have shown a degree of loyalty and respect. And that would, to my mind, transcend or translate into Joseph Parker being rewarded for his achievements.
Usyk's in town because he's expecting Dubois-Parker.
Yeah.
And the winner of Dubois-Parker is absolutely valid to fight Alexander Usyk.
Yeah.
But it didn't materialise.
Absolutely right.
The landscape's changed now.
So it didn't materialise, and that's why Alexander Usyk said, well, he wanted the winner of that. He wanted that undisputed again.
Who's to say it wouldn't have been Parker?
Listen, no, I totally agree with that. A million% agree with that. But what I'm saying, because of the situation and the way it's unfolded, Alexander's calling for that shot.
But it can unfold.
The business of the sport.
It can unfold a different way too, if people that are controlling the purse strings decide that. So Alexander Usyk, with due respect, like everybody else, will have a price, and if that price is met by the people that are writing checks out, then they'll make a different decision. But I want to move on to Agit Kabayel because I like this subject matter because it validates my opinion. I said to you that Kabayel would beat.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. You know I did. I get it right, so very rarely I remember.
Yeah, I'm going to let you have your moment, mate.
But I felt, I've never liked, I like Zhang for the things that he does, but I've never felt that ultimately someone wasn't going to be able to do what Agit Kabayel did to him, and they did it. And I think that Kabayel should be given a lot of credit for what he's done in recent times because people talk about what's on his record, which is always on his record early doors.
He's a very young man as well.
As a younger man.
Yeah.
You know,
17.
The big Russian that everybody thought was going to do a number on him didn't. Frank Sanchez that people criticise and praise in equal measure but was highly ranked was dealt with. And Zhang was dealt with.
Mate,
and I think Kabayel is good value for real opportunities in this division now.
Simon, and the way that he dealt with Zhang was by the way that we said, or I said definitely anyway, they'll go, don't do that. I said, look, Zhang's style, why I went for Zhang was I said, because Kabayel might get too greedy, sit in the pocket, go to the body like he did against Sanchez, and he'll get tagged with a counter.
And he did.
But he done exactly that.
And they got up.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. But
he got up like Joe Parker got up.
No, but
brilliant.
At the moment when he got tagged and went over, he'd already knocked a lot of the fight out of Zhang. Zhang just caught him with a big shot.
You're right.
Zhang had already...
It was a flash knockdown, wasn't it?
It was a flash knockdown, but Zhang had already sort of been beaten at that point. When Kabayel went down, Zhang was not in a good space.
No.
Because the way that he worked
he didn't
that
like
body...
it, did he? Completely outbullied.
Yeah, but it was the way he was working that body.
Awesome.
It just, it sucked the life out of him.
He's game as well.
By round 3...
He'll stand in the fight.
Absolutely right.
By round 3, he was gassed. Done. Like, his arms were coming down.
Well, Kabayel did that to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
He did.
Body shots all the way. Incredible.
And
you've got to go.
Does he move into the camp, Kabayel, of the who needs him, who wants him camp now?
Yeah.
Does he?
Why would you want to fight him?
I think he's taken that off, obviously, Martin Bakole, but taking that off to another level. You look at him now and go, he's a problem for anyone.
Like I said to you before, we're in this meritocracy game now, boys. He's just had 3 knockouts. That's what we're here for, isn't it?
Right.
All against top lads. Put him in against one of the top boys.
Absolutely right. And the Riyadh season guys will like it because he delivers outcomes for them.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well done, Agit. Last week, Duke McKenzie was on the show and he was talking about Carlos Adames being the likely victor in the Hammonster-Sheeraz fight. I didn't think that. You didn't think that.
Yeah.
The scorecards potentially told a different story. What did you make of what we saw in that fight?
Hamza Sheeraz, I spoke to Colin McMillan at the airport as well, actually, who's been with Hamza right from the beginning as an advisor, trainer, great fighter back in the day, former WBO featherweight champion. And he said that Hamza broke his hand in the 5th round. Frank Warren also highlighted that on the night, but you going, well, is Frank just...
Well, hang on, Spence. Let's hear from Frank, because he's spoken to that subject.
I've got to ask you about Hamza, who we all love, but he looked to me in a very difficult fight tonight.
He broke his hand. I mean,
do you know what round he broke his hand in?
Very early in the fight. I don't know if they told me it's 3 or 4, but he busted it. I mean, you can see it. He took his glove off. He's busted his hand. And I could see during the fight, normally he's very sharp with his right hand, as he lets it go. And he just weren't... He was sort of putting it there rather than turning his shoulder, and obviously he couldn't do that with his hand. But then he tried that. You could see in the 11th round, the 12th round,
And he was definitely more subdued than he normally is.
And I went round to the corner. I said, "You've got to win these last couple of rounds." One of the judges scoring. It's like a broken record now these days. What was he give it?
8 at 118, 110 to Adames. We had it for Adames over on our side of the ring.
How many?
By about 6. But listen, he's your guy. You're always going to support him. Yeah, it was what you liked in the fight as well. But Hamza, like you say, came through another battle, another travail with the broken hand, like you say, from early in the fight. So fought 8 rounds with a broken hand.
And the thing about him as well is that from a weight perspective, he looked really drawn. I think he's really, you know, you've got to look at the sides of him, the height of him. I don't know how he makes the weight, and I think we may have to think about that as well.
This is a very different discussion than the one that I was envisaging that we'd have it after the fight, because I wasn't privy to the fact directly after the fight that he'd broken his hand, because it was almost inexplicable to me, the performance that Hamza had put into that fight, because I didn't see anything from him that I thought I was going to see. And I couldn't make head nor tail of what the judging scoring was, because it was wrong. I mean, he is very fortunate to have got a draw in that fight. The reasons may well be justified reasons, but one of the bigger questions that came out for me, alongside the explanation, which negates some of our opinions about what he did and didn't do, was how challenged he is by the weights. Spencer, do you think this is a thing in perpetuity for him, that he's going to be challenged to keep on making this weight?
Well, Frank obviously highlighted that it was a big struggle for him. He's 6'3".
Nobody heard about this before, by the way.
Yeah, he's 6'3". But I was going to say this, Simon. Through the week, he looked great, looked healthy, looked full in the face. So I didn't think weight was even a talking point. Didn't think it was an issue.
I don't think it's weight at all, mate. What I think is, what Frank's highlighting there is, we're talking about a young lad here who's been on a 15-fight knockout streak. Look at the level of the guys that he's been knocking out. With all due respect, we're talking domestic, aren't we? Carlos Adames is a world champion, a proper world champion. That's Hamza Sheeraz's biggest step up in his whole career. Now, for the first 4 rounds of that fight, I actually think he's doing okay, because he's tucking up well, he's defending well, catching a lot of stuff, jabs going out and the right hand is following. So with Frank saying there around 3 or 4 is when he breaks his hand?
Well, I think it was around 5, and I was going to make the point which you're about to make, which is I think that Hamza was doing all right in the first half of the fight, but he wasn't brilliant before he broke his hand.
No. The output is definitely low. There's no doubt about that, but the game plan was right. When he's broken that hand, if Frank's what he's saying to us, he's broken it around round 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all Adames rounds, because the output is so low. So now what Hamza's got to do, and we've seen it with other fighters before, when Dubois stepped up, he was given a challenge against Joe Joyce, he fell. He's gone away, dusted himself off, he's come back. Gone to Usyk, he's fell, he's gone away. Now look at where he's at. Hamza Sheeraz is going to learn a lot from that fight, because he's going to have got through the 12 rounds, and he's probably in the back of his head going, I should have thrown that, I should have done this, I should have done that. He's got all these questions now to go away and work on, get the hand fixed up, he'll come again. Absolutely. But the performance...
should he push for a rematch?
I think that he should push for a rematch, but the question I was going to ask you, do you still think that he beats Chris Eubank Jr. on that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Because I'm sorry, but I'm not in the Chris Eubank PR department of thinking that Chris Eubank fights a live one, and then we'll see what happens with him. But I'm also more interested to see
just on rematch. But whilst you were alluding to that there, I think he's got to go away and win a fight of a decent standard before he gets to rematch.
Because with this one.
Let's be honest, it's not a draw, lads. It's diabolical scoring. It was diabolical scoring.
It was terrible scoring, and I had Carlos Adames clear winner in that fight.
I've got it 117, 111.
But it happens, and he's got away with a draw. That's great. You can go back. I do think he goes in for the immediate rematch, by the way, because I think that tactically he got it wrong against Adames. Forget the break of the hand in the 5th round. That was, if you go them rounds before that, he gave Adames too much respect. He went in there, and that levelling, stepping up in class, I think the whole occasion...
Well, he now knows the level, doesn't he?
Now he knows the level.
He now knows the level.
And I think that he can go back...
There was a moment of controversy besides the scoring, but reverberated around the scoring, which is Turki Al-Sheikh was in the corner shouting at Hamza Sheeraz about the scorecards or the nature of the fact that he needs to win the next 2 rounds.
Well, he was saying 2 points, isn't he? That's what he said. He said 2 points.
I spoke about this earlier on another show where first of all, I don't think Turkey has an obligation to be neutral in anything other than the commercial negotiations he does with the fighters.
Fair.
I think he's shown patronage before. You know, he talks about his favourite fighters like Mark Chamberlain, which is hence the reason why Josh Padley got an opportunity potentially because he was in the front of people's minds. Are you concerned? I mean, I'm before people pile in on him, I think he's done more for the sport of boxing, for whatever reason. He's done more for the sport of boxing than anyone else has done in recent times. So before I start making a judgment of whether this is inappropriate or there's something more sinister about it, I would like to hear what he has to say himself about the reasnos why he felt the necessity to be in the corner shouting at a fighter.
Listen, I'll tell you why he was there, because he's passionate about it. He's an ambassador of Riyadh season. Hamza.
Do you think it's the right look?
No. He's the promoter. And
I think the scorecards are a worse look.
Can I explain? Can I explain why he's done that? Can I explain why Turkey's got up and done that? Because his emotions are there. He's emotionally involved with this guy. He's his promoter. And he's done the right thing there by jumping up. By the way, for anyone that's wondering, he's not seen any scorecards of any judges.
It's an opinion.
I'm going to put that to bed.
It's not his official thing, is it?
So he's gone up, and what he's done is, by trying to motivate his fighter, he's going, right, my kid's behind. He's going, you're losing the fight by 2 rounds, which will ignite something in the fighter's brain. You need to pick it up. You need to pick up. He's done the right thing. And all this conspiracy about Turkey's looked at the judges' scorecards and gone and told the fighter, that's absolute
No,
bullshit.
I agree with you. But if you're Carlos Adames and you're sitting there with being signed to a fight, to fight under this banner, and you're seeing the clear focus on one fighter rather than the other, you might find yourself a little bit more offended by him.
How many getting the opportunity against Hamza Sheeraz?
No, he's the world title.
Yeah, no.
Hold on, he's the world title. He's not getting the opportunity.
Let me rephrase that. Right, what I'm saying is, Adames is getting the opportunity to fight on this Riyadh card season, and that is because Hamza
I'm playing devil's advocate because I don't have a particular problem with it, but there's lots of people that are reverberating around saying, hang on, this can't be right. I think Turkey Al-Sheikh has done more for boxing in the last 2 years than everyone else put together. So I'm not really bothered about the optics of it.
He is not the first promoter that I have seen go to a fighter's corner and shout some instruction in some way, shape or form, whether it be you need to do more of this, you need to do more of that, or whatever it may be. Like you've just said, I think you've nailed it there, because people are making this automatic assumption in their head that he has the official score. That's not how I saw that video. I saw that video as a man going over and giving his opinion 2 points. That was his opinion.
The only bloody thing about it is everyone knows that people have significant influence, and you've got a set of scorecards that are pretty poxy, aren't they? So everyone's starting to get 2 and 2 together and make
the more alarming thing.
Whatever they want to make out of it.
The scorecards are the more alarming thing, because
he has not seen those judges' scorecards. That is a fact.
I don't know what you guys think. I mean, I know that the cream of the crop with all of the substance that we gave it earlier on in the show was obviously Beterbiev versus Bivol. But for me, the fight of the evening was the first fight.
Might be the fight of the year, man.
Yeah. Callum Smith and Josh Buatsi.
You've got to give Callum Smith all the respect, because, man, I've got to tell you that I agree with you boys, right? That for me was the fight. It might not have had the levels of Beterbiev and Bivol, but for sheer entertainment and where them two went, where you go like, and the way they were turning it around, that for me is fight of the year. What a fight!
I've no problem admitting that I got that massive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my judgment of Callum Smith coming into this fight was based on a large period of inactivity, waiting for the Beterbiev fight, getting beat comprehensively off Beterbiev. If you actually look at Callum's last 4 or 5 years, there's no real significant wins on there. You know, he beat George Groves 4 or 5 years ago, but the Canelo one, so there's nothing really to hold on to. Whereas Buatsi, it felt like the star was starting to rise. He was beating the domestic level operators, wasn't he? And doing it relatively well. So coming into this, he had the momentum. Listen, at home.
But this was a stark lesson for Josh, though, wasn't it? I mean, there were times in this fight where Callum made him look very one-dimensional. I felt there were times...
Callum was awesome.
He was absolutely awesome on every level. And to me, it looks like these are the byproducts, potentially, of fights against Willie Hutchinson and Dan Aziz, and then stepping in with a world-class operator that Callum Smith that's still got the motivation.
You might be right.
And potentially the matchmaking problems of not fight, because I think Buatsi would beat Yard, irrespective of what Tundi says and what Anthony says, and I like both of them. I think Buatsi is more at a level with Yard than he is with Callum Smith, because Callum Smith is a world-class operator, and I'm not sure Anthony Yard is.
But in Buatsi's defence, off the back of this contest, like you say there with Callum Smith, and you look at that and you say, well, did he really have that right preparation with people like Dan Aziz and Willie Hutchinson? He showed a lot of character in there.
Oh, he did.
And at times in that fight where you thought he was totally gone, he turned it around.
Absolutely.
And had Smith totally in place. So you go,
he did.
His stock for me rose. But to Smith's level, he proved he proved that he's still very much at the
Buatsi showed us what I believed that he would have anyway, which is immense resilience.
Yeah.
But what he also showed us, there was a difference in class between Callum Smith and Josh Buatsi. Callum Smith is a class operator that flows class shots. And whereas Buatsi walked forward, took the shots, and he tried to physically outpower Callum Smith. Yeah. But the better operator in that fight, by a mile with respect to Josh, who I really like, was Callum Smith.
Yeah, I think they underestimated. The Buatsi camp have underestimated just how good Callum Smith is on the inside, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
He's such a tall lad. You would automatically look at that and think, right, he's going to keep...
But he tells them. He told them before, I'm the best inside fighter
at this weight. He's a phenomenal inside fighter. He actually emulates his brother Paul's little left to the body. Yeah. Normally it's the catch to left
he touches down and comes back up.
It's just gorgeous, mate.
That's like setting a trap, touching down, bring the elbow down, bam, over the top. But that hook is devastating. He showed us, Simon, that he's still very much belongs at the top.
Absolutely, absolutely. Where next? I mean, we've got Anthony Yard, buzzing around media studios now.
Do you want me to say the landscape? I'll say the landscape.
Yeah, tell me the landscape.
Right, because we've said at the top of this show, right? The top two, I only want to see them fighting each other. So Beterbiev, Bivol, part 3.
Yeah.
Okay? Callum Smith, David Benavidez.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do Callum Smith, David Benavidez. I don't think Buatsi...
So where's this leave Yard then?
Yeah.
Buatsi.
I think we get Callum...
Okay.
Why not?
Oh, you'll take him now, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, hang on a minute. He's got to come through Lyndon
But he won't get the
Arthur,
money.
He's got to come
Isn't
through
half the
Lyndon
problem
Arthur.
with Anthony the valuation of the fight?
Well, he's got to come through Lyndon Arthur. If he comes through that and he looks good, Buatsi stock's there. Let's go.
I think we get Callum Smith, Anthony Yard next. That's the fight that I think will be made.
On a Matchroom Queensbury 5v5 thing.
Yeah, no, but I like your ideas there. But yeah, we'll get that.
If I'm Anthony Yard, and I just saw what I saw, I
fight.
don't fancy that fight.
Anthony Yard's going for it, mate. I was with him actually out there for that. He wants that fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
he will
because
do.
he wants the big
Yeah, he
fight.
will do.
But if I'm Callum Smith,
Yeah.
I want the best boys. Get me David Benavidez because they're saying that he's next in line for Beterbiev Bivol. So let me go and beat him, and I'll get the winner of the
I like that.
the
I
top
like
fight.
that route, but the other route is the
Either
one
which
that's likely
way,
to happen.
Callum Smith was brilliant, and whoever said that he couldn't win that fight was bloody wrong. This Sunday sees the first episode of My Life in Boxing released on the talkSPORT YouTube boxing channel. Let's have a look and see what we're going to see.
We used to spar in the front room, and 10 times out of 10, he used to give me a beating, and I thought, I'm going to get him back. I started training properly from when I was 7 years of age.
7 years
7 years of age. Thought I won the fight, and it was a good fight, a close fight, but I thought I'd done enough to win it, and I think most people around at that time did as well. And I lost the gold medal, so I thought I'm turning pro.
You dreamt of being a world champion. You had it all taken away from you.
Yeah. This is something, by the way, that I love in the box, and I only very rarely talk about. It's difficult. And I thought, what else am I going to do with my life? I was going to be the next big thing in boxing. Come down, bam, lights go out. I felt bitter and twisted then.
There you go.
A lot of drinking, a lot of going out.
Did you ever think of taking your own life in that period?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, because I thought, what's it for? Yeah, it's tough. I now recognise that I was given a second shot at life and living a full life, a full, healthy life.
Didn't realise I was plugging Gareth Davis.
He's plugging me there, to be fair. He's plugging me there. That was my life in boxing.
Listen, I know you've loved doing this series, Spence.
I have loved it. And
Sounds like therapy, that, man. That looked really deep.
It was intense, mate. I'm not going to lie, right? So there's a box, right, with a boxer, especially with the journey that I went through. Like, there's a box that you lock these emotions in. You take the key out. You don't throw it away. You just take it out, and every now and then you open the box. And I open the box on that show. To be fair, it's
Can you imagine having therapy with that weasel?
Well,
Not you, that other one, Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen.
That was the big problem, mate. That was like a little therapy session, and I'm sitting here going, wow, I'm in here with Gareth, what's happening? But yeah, no, it's brilliant. I mean, we've done people like Dave Coldwell. It's not just the boxers. We go Dave Coldwell, Robin Reed, Thomas Treiber. Brilliant show.
But you're the dominant force in the show.
I am, mate.
Very good. Then I shall look forward to looking at. Shaka Stevenson, Josh Padley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The winner in most people's minds from this particular fight would be Josh Padley.
100%.
Agreed.
Because he's the hero, he's the noble loser, and the economic benefits for him potentially transform opportunities for him.
I love it. He beat Turkey's favourite fighter in Mark Chamberlain on the undercard of Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois. He's done that. This kid's a part-time electrician, works as an electrician.
Not anymore.
Not anymore,
Not
mate.
anymore,
Not
baby.
anymore. And this is what it's all about, boxing and what's going on over in Saudi Arabia. These kids getting opportunity and hope. Life-changing money. It's happened to Josh Padley. 4 days' notice, he gets the phone call because Floyd Schofield has fallen ill. He's out of the fight. He's come in, and he was the winner. And he come in, so Shaka Stevenson come in, obviously, as the fans' favourite. They're all going there, pound for pound star. When they left, mate, Shaka getting booed, and he was getting cheered like it was a moral victory because he went in there and he give it a go and he give it everything. There was levels between the two of them. I think for Shaka, you're going, he's not really showing us anything.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Adam.
dominance.
I mean, where can you be talked about as a pound-for-pound fighter with Shaka Stevenson and not ultimately deliver outcomes that befit that title?
Just on the Josh Padley thing, there's that brilliant speech in the film Gladiator, isn't there? Win the crowd. He won the crowd. He won the crowd. He lost the fight, but he won the hearts of the people. And I know that he's going to be well looked after now going forward, and this is going to be his career rather than being an electrician. So,
where can he go, Josh, by the way?
Absolutely fantastic.
And do you know what? Life-changing money he got as well for that opportunity
Fair
to
play
come
to
in
him.
and show. I loved it. I love everything about it. So, where can Josh Padley go from here? I think he's taken a lot from that. His stocks rose from the fact that he's gone in with...
Down to his bank manager, I suspect. I want to be treated differently in his bank.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
Why would you
massively.
not?
Listen, where's he from? Doncaster, isn't he?
Yeah.
He can get a nice house up there.
Get 2.
Oh, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised how much houses cost up the neck of the woods.
really?
I've been looking up in Hull. Don't ask me why.
You're going to move up there, aren't you?
I'm not.
Oh,
no, I'm not.
That's all right. That's all right. You can both get the train down.
Yeah, we'll get looked after.
No, thank you.
Just on Stevenson, he is a beautiful technician, sensational boxer, but he's boring, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the key thing when we are looking at superstars of the sport. He might be on the pound-for-pound list, and people might say multi-weight world champion, he's going to beat this guy and he's going to beat that guy. But are people buying a ticket? Are people interested in what he's doing? He's too risk-averse. Even in this fight, he's too risk-averse. Someone like a Terence Crawford would take Josh Padley out within 2 or 3 rounds because he's an absolute savage in there.
Let's put someone in the weight division, someone like Gervonta Davis.
Take him out. You take him out. The problem is with Shakur Stevenson, and I know that he's close to Floyd Mayweather, but he's looking at the end.
He's come out of that school, hasn't he?
He's looking at the end of the Floyd Mayweather.
Rather than the beginning.
The Money Mayweather, right?
Yeah.
And he skipped straight to Money Mayweather without giving us Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yeah.
Well, hang on a minute. Pretty Boy Floyd knocked out 20, 30 people before we got to the big stuff.
Yeah.
He skipped all that. He's got to do more in order to capture the imagination of the fan.
Mayweather had a bit of sting in his shots. That's what it was. He had that safety first approach, and a boxing purist, he said, but what Shakur hasn't got, and that was evident and clear there, and I think Josh Padley said that when we spoke to him the following day, with no marks on his face, he said, he's got no punch power. And he goes, so yeah, he's got that like Mayweather safety first sort of style. We live in a world of entertainment today, and the people don't buy that. But yes, that is for the boxing purist, and you love watching what he does. But when you're talking about superstar status, you go, Gervonta Davis would take him out icing, because I think it's all about levels. Davis, him, for me, on what I saw
Before we wrap the show, I want to ask you boys about Virgil Ortiz Jr. and his performance against Madrimov.
Yeah, I thought it was a great performance.
Yeah, so did I.
I thought it was a brilliant performance. Madrimov is one of those guys, very, very awkward, very difficult to pin down, as Terence Crawford found out. But Terence Crawford is more of a technical boxer, and it was more of a chess match between them two. Whereas Virgil Hunter, he was going out there. Virgil Ortiz was going out there on the hunt, looking to close the gap, but he finished the show. I mean, it was a great performance. When you look at that, you go, Virgil Ortiz Jr., who I've always thought was a great fighter anyway, I go, looking at that there, he stopped Rose, the way he dealt with Madrimov. I thought it was a brilliant performance. Madrimov's a tricky guy. He cut the ring down well. He worked the body well. His shot selection was brilliant. He's a tough one to beat.
He ain't going to get it, but I'd love to see him in Terence Crawford.
I don't know if he will get it, mate, because Crawford's going to go up in...
He's going to fight the Canelo fight, isn't he? But I think...
I like that, yeah. I agree.
Where does Madrimov go? I mean, he's now lost 2-3 fights in a row?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because he's a tough guy to beat. And that's the problem. You go, when you're coming off a couple of losses, you're looking at the prospects coming through, the kid's going to go, really? I don't want none of that. He's a tough guy to pin down. He's got that sort of like European style where he just keeps hitting, and you think... The miles he must have done in that ring, by the way, was insane. He was non-stop the whole time. Tactically, he had it spot on, but it's going to be a tough road back for him because no one's going to want to go near him because it's the sort of style that makes everyone look bad, and you don't want to go there unless you have to go there. Credit to, like I say, Ortiz Jr. for taking the fight because it was always going to be a tricky one, and I thought that he excelled. That's it for episode 109 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan, Spencer Oliver. Adam, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, gents.
And we'll see you guys next time we're out.